OMG. The tension at Forrester Creations had reached an all-time high, and the air was thick with anticipation as Elektra and Will found themselves thrown together in a situation neither could have foreseen, their hearts pounding, their minds racing, and their loyalty tested in ways they never imagined possible. It all began on a seemingly ordinary morning when Elektra, always the one with a sharp eye and an unquenchable curiosity, noticed subtle inconsistencies in Dylan's behavior. There were little things at first, things that might have seemed trivial to an outsider. An evasive glance, a hastily closed document, a suspiciously hurried exit from the office. But to Elektra, trained to notice patterns, the alarm bells were deafening. She had always trusted Dylan, respected him even, but lately, something felt off, as if beneath his calm, confident exterior, there lurked a secret so dark it threatened to unravel everything he had built. Meanwhile, Will, drawn by his own instincts and a growing unease, began noticing similar anomalies. He found cryptic notes that Dylan had left behind, fragments of conversations that made little sense, and glimpses of files on his computer that seemed to vanish almost as soon as he approached. The synergy between Elektra and Will was electric, two minds attuned to the same instinct, feeling the same pulse of danger, recognizing that something monumental was simmering just beneath the surface. The very thought of Dylan, the charming, seemingly reliable Dylan, hiding a secret capable of shaking the Forrester empire to its core was both shocking and irresistible, a temptation they could not ignore. It wasn't long before Elektra's investigative streak led her to confront Dylan directly, her voice calm but her eyes betraying a storm of emotion, demanding answers that she both dreaded and needed to hear. Dylan, for his part, remained composed, his face a mask of casual indifference, but beneath that facade, his heart raced, his mind scrambling to construct a plausible lie that could divert the storm brewing around him. Will, standing just behind Elektra, felt the tension tighten like a vice. He knew that what they were about to uncover could change everything. Relationships, careers, even the very fabric of trust that bound the Forrester family together. The confrontation escalated quickly, the dialogue sharp and laden with implication, as Dylan struggled to maintain control over a situation slipping ever further from his grasp. The truth, as it always does, had a way of emerging, of breaking through the defenses we construct around ourselves, and soon Elektra and Will stumbled upon evidence so damning that the world they knew seemed to collapse in on itself. Documents, photos, even financial records painted a picture so horrifying, so incomprehensible, that Elektra's hand flew to her mouth in disbelief while Will's jaw clenched, a mix of rage and sorrow swirling within him. Dylan's terrible secret, the one he had buried beneath layers of charm and manipulation, was laid bare, exposing actions that could not only destroy his reputation, but also harm those closest to him in ways that would take years to heal. Shockwaves rippled through the office as Elektra and Will processed the revelation, their minds racing to connect the dots, to understand how someone they had trusted so implicitly could harbor such darkness. Their loyalty to the Forrester name, their commitment to truth, demanded action, but the emotional weight of betrayal made every step forward excruciating. Elektra, ever the strategist, immediately began considering the consequences of exposing Dylan, how it would affect the team, the projects underway, the delicate web of relationships that had been carefully constructed over the years. Will, on the other hand, was more visceral, driven by anger and the need for justice, his every instinct screaming that Dylan could not be allowed to manipulate or harm anyone else. Together, they crafted a plan, one that balanced discretion with the imperative to reveal the truth, understanding that timing was everything in a battle that involved not just careers, but hearts and minds. As they delved deeper, the extent of Dylan's deception became increasingly apparent, stretching beyond mere professional misconduct into personal betrayals that cut deep. Elektra felt a strange mix of sadness and determination. She had always admired Dylan's creativity, his ability to inspire and lead, but admiration could not blind her to the reality before her eyes. Will, for his part, wrestled with disbelief, unable to reconcile the Dylan he knew with the person revealed through the evidence. The two of them, united by shock and a sense of moral duty, knew that confronting Dylan a second time would be unavoidable. The tension between them and Dylan escalated to almost unbearable levels as they orchestrated a careful, calculated meeting designed to corner him without triggering further deception. Dylan, sensing the net closing, tried every tactic he knew: charm, denial, diversion. But Elektra and Will were relentless, their combined resolve creating an unyielding force that left him with no place to hide. When the confrontation finally reached its peak, Dylan's defenses crumbled, revealing cracks that had been widening ever since the first suspicious incident. The terrible secret spilled forth, more horrifying than either Elektra or Will had imagined. A revelation that threatened not just individual lives, but the reputation and integrity of the Forrester enterprise itself. In the aftermath, the office was awash with whispers and speculation, colleagues exchanging anxious glances, each wondering how such deception could have gone unnoticed for so long. Elektra and Will, however, found themselves at the center of a storm, tasked with not only processing the emotional fallout, but also strategizing the next steps to ensure that Dylan's actions were addressed appropriately and justice was served. The impact of the discovery rippled outward, affecting relationships in ways no one could have predicted. Elektra's trust in her colleagues was shaken, her perception of loyalty and honesty forever altered. Will, struggling to reconcile anger with the desire for measured action, found his own understanding of morality and responsibility tested like never before. Together, they navigated the treacherous waters of corporate intrigue, personal betrayal, and moral responsibility, their every decision fraught with consequences that could redefine the Forrester legacy. As the days unfolded, Elektra and Will became increasingly aware that Dylan's secret was not merely a personal failing, but part of a larger, more complex pattern of manipulation and deceit. Each revelation brought new challenges, forcing them to question their assumptions, reevaluate their strategies, and confront uncomfortable truths about the people around them and the lengths to which some would go to protect their own interests. Through it all, their alliance strengthened, forged in the fires of crisis, each finding in the other a source of courage, clarity, and unwavering commitment to justice. Together, they meticulously pieced together the full scope of Dylan's actions, assembling a dossier that would leave no room for denial, no opportunity for escape. The process was painstaking, emotionally draining, and at times terrifying, as the implications of each discovery threatened to spiral out of control. Elektra, ever the analytical mind, charted the sequence of events, mapping connections and motives, while focused on confronting those affected, offering reassurance, and gathering testimony that would corroborate the truth. The final confrontation, when it came, was both inevitable and explosive. Dylan, confronted with irrefutable evidence, could no longer rely on charm or obfuscation. The room crackled with tension, every word exchanged weighted with the knowledge that the course of many lives hinged on the outcome. Elektra and Will, united in purpose and unflinching in resolve, laid bare the full extent of the betrayal, their voices steady despite the turmoil swirling within. The aftermath was chaotic, emotions ran high, alliances shifted, and the true character of those involved was revealed in stark relief. Dylan, now exposed, faced the consequences of actions long concealed, while Elektra and Will emerged not only as bearers of truth, but as protectors of integrity, their courage ensuring that justice, however delayed, was ultimately served. In the weeks that followed, the Forrester world slowly began to stabilize, though scars remained, both visible and hidden. Elektra and Will, having navigated one of the most harrowing episodes in the company's history, found themselves forever changed. The ordeal had tested their intellect, resilience, and emotional fortitude, leaving them stronger, wiser, and more deeply aware of the fragility of trust and the power of truth. Through it all, the story of Dylan's terrible secret remained a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most charming and seemingly reliable individuals could harbor darkness capable of shaking the foundations of the most revered institutions. And as Elektra and Will continue to navigate the complex tapestry of loyalty, ambition, and morality, they carried with them the lessons learned in that fateful period. The necessity of vigilance, the importance of courage, and the enduring value of integrity. OMG moments came and went, but the revelation of Dylan's secret remained etched in the collective memory of all who had witnessed it, a moment of shock, awe, and unrelenting drama that would be recounted in whispers and conversations for years to come. Electra and Will's journey through betrayal, discovery, and justice had forged a bond that transcended ordinary friendship. A partnership rooted in the shared experience of confronting the unimaginable and emerging not only unbroken, but emboldened. As the Forrester empire moved forward, the shadow of that revelation lingered, a testament to the complexities of human behavior, the consequences of secrecy, and the enduring power of truth to illuminate even the darkest corners of ambition and desire. In the end, the story of Dylan's terrible secret became more than a tale of personal betrayal. It evolved into a saga of courage, resilience, and the unwavering commitment to uphold the values that define the Forrester legacy. With Electra and Will standing at the forefront as champions of honesty, integrity, and the relentless pursuit of justice, their journey forever intertwined with the OMG moment that had reshaped their world and redefined their understanding of trust, loyalty, and the delicate balance between appearance and reality in the high-stakes world of the bold and the beautiful. The shock of Dylan's secret did not dissipate with the initial confrontation. Rather, it festered like a wound exposed to light, demanding attention and action. Electra and Will, though relieved to have unearthed the truth, soon realized that the layers of deception were far deeper than they had first imagined. As they returned to their daily routines at Forrester Creations, each step felt haunted. Every glance exchanged with colleagues laden with suspicion and unspoken questions, every meeting shadowed by the specter of what they now knew. Dylan, for his part, had become a study in controlled chaos, outwardly calm but inwardly unraveling, constantly calculating, planning, and manipulating to regain the semblance of control he had lost. The fear of exposure drove him to extraordinary lengths. Every interaction became a test of his ability to deflect, to charm, to lie convincingly, yet beneath the polished surface, Electra and Will could detect the tremors of desperation. The pair began noticing subtle but telling signs, secretive phone calls, late-night meetings cloaked in urgency, and messages erased almost immediately after being sent. Each clue, though minor on its own, built into a pattern that could no longer be ignored. Electra, ever meticulous, cataloged every anomaly, creating a mental map of Dylan's behavior that revealed inconsistencies and contradictions impossible to dismiss. Will, more instinct-driven, felt the tension physically, a knot in his stomach that refused to loosen, a visceral understanding that Dylan's deception was far from over and that the consequences of inaction could be catastrophic. Their collaboration intensified, turning into a near-obsessive quest for understanding. They would spend hours together dissecting events, tracing timelines, and connecting dots that Dylan believed were invisible, their minds working in tandem, fueled by a mix of curiosity, moral imperative, and personal outrage. What they uncovered next only deepened the horror. Dylan's secret was not a single act of misconduct, but a series of interwoven betrayals, stretching into areas Electra and Will had never anticipated. Financial irregularities hinted at embezzlement or manipulation of company resources, while personal interactions suggested calculated emotional manipulation of colleagues and associates. Worse, some actions had left lasting, irreparable damage to those Dylan had pretended to care for. Electra felt the weight of responsibility like a physical burden. She understood that withholding this information could make them complicit, yet revealing it could ignite a storm the company might never recover from. Will's emotions teetered between righteous anger and disbelief, unable to reconcile the Dylan he had respected and perhaps even admired with the reality now revealed. As the pair prepared for another confrontation, the stakes escalated further when they realized Dylan had discovered their investigation. A sense of urgency replaced methodical patience. Dylan, once confident in his secrecy, now moved with subtle aggression, planting false evidence, manipulating perceptions, and attempting to cast doubt on Electra and Will themselves. The dynamic shifted from a simple revelation of guilt to a psychological chess game, with Electra and Will struggling not only to expose Dylan, but also to protect themselves from potential retaliation. The tension reached almost unbearable levels as small victories were countered by Dylan's cunning maneuvers. He leaked false information to colleagues, sowed distrust between Electra and Will, and even attempted to manipulate superiors with carefully constructed lies, each attempt a test of his ability to control the narrative. Yet, Electra and Will's resolve hardened. Each attempt at deception only fueled their determination, creating a cycle of anticipation, confrontation, and revelation that dominated every waking moment. In this relentless pursuit, personal stakes became intertwined with professional ones. Electra began noticing changes in her own perception. Friends and colleagues she once trusted now seemed potential threats. Allies could be complicit, and even those previously neutral might exploit the unfolding chaos for their own gain. Will, too, faced internal turmoil, struggling with anger management, moral judgment, and the constant fear that one misstep could allow Dylan to escape accountability. Their partnership evolved beyond mere collaboration. It became a crucible of emotional intensity, sharpening instincts, clarifying priorities, and solidifying a bond neither had anticipated, but both had come to rely upon utterly. Dylan, sensing the tightening grip of exposure, resorted to increasingly reckless behavior, culminating in an audacious attempt to manipulate events so drastically that even seasoned observers would have been shocked. Electra and Will, however, had anticipated much of his strategy, predicting moves, countering threats, and using their combined intellect to neutralize his attempts at misdirection. The climactic confrontation that followed was more intense than any prior encounter, a tense dance of accusation, denial, and revelation that left the office in stunned silence. Dylan's mask cracked further as each layer of deceit was peeled away. What remained was a man cornered, desperate, and terrifyingly unrestrained, with actions that revealed not just ambition but a willingness to harm anyone who threatened his carefully constructed image. As the fallout continued, the ripple effects touched everyone in the Forrester orbit. Relationships fractured under the weight of betrayal. Some colleagues sided with Dylan out of fear, loyalty, or personal interest, while others rallied around Electra and Will, recognizing their courage and commitment to the truth. The emotional landscape was chaotic, filled with grief, anger, disbelief, and for some, a perverse sense of vindication that the truth could no longer be hidden. Electra and Will, exhausted but unbroken, took on the dual role of investigators and caretakers, ensuring that both the truth and those affected by Dylan's actions were managed with care. Each revelation brought with it both clarity and consequence. Careers teetered, reputations hung in the balance, and even personal lives were irrevocably altered. Yet through it all, the pair maintained a singular focus, understanding that exposing Dylan's terrible secret was not just about retribution, but about safeguarding the integrity of the Forrester legacy. In the quiet moments between confrontations, Electra and Will reflected on the complexity of human behavior, recognizing that Dylan's actions were both extraordinary in their deceit and horrifyingly ordinary in their motivation. Greed, fear, and ambition had combined in a potent cocktail, masking moral failings under charm and manipulation, and it was only the unrelenting scrutiny of two vigilant minds that had brought the truth to light. The emotional intensity of these reflections created an undercurrent of tension that colored every decision they made. Every conversation, every email, every meeting held potential for revelation or disaster. The landscape of trust had been irrevocably altered, and Electra and Will had become both guardians and witnesses, responsible not only for justice but also for the delicate task of navigating the social and professional fallout. As Dylan's schemes unraveled, Electra and Will encountered moments of near despair. False leads, red herrings, and unexpected betrayals by those they thought allies tested their resolve repeatedly. Yet each obstacle only reinforced their partnership. They found in each other not just a collaborator, but a confidant, someone who understood the stakes, the pressures, and the emotional toll with an almost intuitive precision. The intensity of the situation transformed them individually and collectively, forging resilience, sharpened judgment, and an unwavering sense of moral responsibility that would shape their future interactions in ways neither could have predicted. Electra, who had once relied primarily on analytical skills, found herself integrating emotional intelligence with investigative precision, reading nuances in behavior, tone, and expression that revealed truths hidden beneath layers of deception. Will, whose instincts were naturally protective and visceral, learned the importance of patience, planning, and strategic thinking, understanding that justice required both immediate action and long-term vision. The combination proved formidable, allowing them to anticipate Dylan's moves and counter them with precision, gradually stripping away the final defenses that had allowed his deception to endure. Ultimately, the revelation of Dylan's terrible secret reached a crescendo, a moment so intense and fraught with consequence that it would be remembered across the Forrester empire for years. The final exposure left no ambiguity, no room for denial, and forced all involved to confront uncomfortable truths about trust, loyalty, and the cost of ambition. Dylan, once perceived as charismatic and reliable, was revealed as manipulative and dangerous, a man whose actions had caused real harm to those around him, yet whose downfall served as a powerful lesson in accountability. Electra and Will emerged not only as the agents of truth, but as exemplars of courage and moral clarity, their partnership a testament to the power of vigilance, resilience, and unwavering commitment to justice. The weeks that followed were a slow process of repair, reconciliation, and reflection. Relationships were mended where possible, professional boundaries re-established, and the Forrester legacy stabilized under the shadow of the recent turmoil. Electra and Will, however, were forever changed. Their understanding of human nature, corporate intrigue, and personal loyalty had deepened, and the memory of Dylan's deception remained a vivid reminder of the fragile balance between appearance and reality. The OMG moment of discovering Dylan's terrible secret had reshaped the landscape, leaving both chaos and clarity in its wake. Electra and Will, having endured the emotional, psychological, and professional trials of exposing the truth, found themselves stronger, wiser, and inseparably bonded by the shared experience of confronting the unimaginable. The story of Dylan's secret, once hidden behind charm and manipulation, had become a saga of vigilance, courage, and unwavering dedication to integrity, a narrative that would echo through the halls of Forrester Creations as a cautionary tale, and a testament to the enduring power of truth, responsibility, and the extraordinary consequences of secrecy. As the company and its people moved forward, the echoes of the revelation lingered, shaping decisions, relationships, and perceptions in ways both subtle and profound. Electra and Will continue to navigate their roles with a heightened awareness, knowing that vigilance was perpetual, that trust must be earned and maintained, and that the lessons of Dylan's betrayal would inform their choices for years to come. The drama, the tension, and the OMG-level shock of the discovery had transformed a professional environment into a crucible of character, loyalty, and ethical reckoning, leaving all who witnessed it forever changed. Electra and Will, having faced the unimaginable together, carried forward not only the knowledge of Dylan's terrible secret, but also the confidence, wisdom, and moral clarity that came from surviving and exposing one of the most dangerous deceptions the Forrester world had ever seen. Each day, as they walked the halls once filled with uncertainty and fear, they carried with them the lessons of that harrowing period, a reminder that the truth, no matter how devastating, must always be pursued, that courage can illuminate even the darkest corners, and that OMG moments, though shocking in the moment, can ultimately define character, forge unbreakable bonds, and ensure that justice prevails, leaving a legacy that extends far beyond the immediate drama and into the very essence of who Electra and Will had become, champions of truth, integrity, and unwavering vigilance.